Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you all really quick about the consignment market and why I decided not to be there anymore. So, it's not going to be one of those videos like I don't want to gripe about it or belabor the topic of consignment. It is not for everybody, but I'm just going to give you my honest opinion and let you know why I decided to leave. So grab a cup of whatever makes you happy and come back and sit with me just for a couple minutes. So since February, actually the last 2 weeks of January, I was at a local consignment market. And you've probably seen my pictures on socials. I think I was sharing it more on Instagram at that time because this channel, my other channel, was all messed up and I couldn't get to it. So anyways, I have shared shelfies where I was updating things. So what did I sell? I sold blind date with book bundles. Those were my #1 seller, ironically. My crochet, I barely sold any of that. And it's not just that, I know that that's not just me because I have frequented other markets. And one particular market, not the one that I'm at, there is a woman who had crochet washcloths, cozies, hats. Those have been there since before the holidays, and those are still there as of last week. So it's just not a big market for crochet here where I am in the particular part of New York State where I'm at. So we're practically Canada. Okay, so where I am, I'm practically in Canada. So anyways, I haven't, like I was selling these bookish things. I moved to a few different spots within the same market. All right, we just met some of my family from Alaska out at dinner, so I wanted to come back in and get back to this video. So why I'm sharing this is because one of the things that I feel passionate about as a maker is to keep it real with you and not only share the sunshine and fluffy, marshmallowy moments, or not just the happy moments, but also the real moments, and let you know about things that you might encounter or that can sometimes be just a little bit of a speed bump. I don't like the word obstacle because I really don't believe there's any obstacles in lives. Well, in my life, in your life, in anybody's life, I really don't think there's obstacles. I feel like there might be bumps in the road. So this was a little blip, a little bump in the road. But I will say, I absolutely will not say the name of the market because this isn't about that. I don't want to bash them. And the manager was he was so lovely to me. And honestly, he made the experience for me, even when I was having problems, he made the experience just so lovely and welcoming that I truly wanted to stay at the market just so that I could be in his presence. But that's the wrong, I have to be realistic about it. That is absolutely the wrong reason. Same thing as, it would be the wrong reason to go along with anything in life that you don't like or a situation that's not for you just because you like the people that you're with. You know what I'm saying? So, in any event, I decided to leave because the record keeping just didn't seem to, jive. There were issues with my vendor number in different places. I think the record keeping is, it's a little, it's just a little homemade. You know what I mean? Everything just seems like it's handwritten, and there's a lot. They have a lot on their plate, and I know this. But at the same time, I felt like, aside from the manager, that I just wasn't supported in this space. And you have to, when you're in a situation like this, you're entrusting your homemade or handmade goods. You're leaving these things in their care. So you expect things to be a certain way. And like when I showed up, so let me just say, I made up a bunch of these handmade cards and other things. So I had fully intended when I woke up on Friday morning, I fully intended on going there and relocating my shelf. I figured, excuse me, I would circumvent a lot of the stuff that was happening by moving to a smaller shelf, because the shelving that I had, it was just becoming a dumping ground for people. There was constantly stuff there that didn't belong there. And I know this happens at these markets, but it was excessive. Like garbage, dirty cups. It just was really kind of getting out of hand. And also it was expensive. $75 a month plus 15 for advertising plus 10 for security. I never saw the advertising component of it. And I was talking to a couple of the market mates, I guess, if you will, the other makers who were there, and they asked if I was leaving, and we started talking, and I didn't say anything, but the things that they were saying to me, like, I didn't volunteer it, but the things that they were saying to me when they started the conversation was all the same stuff that I was talking about. And I was really bothered by, I was expecting better exposure. They told me the market was really well advertised, and it may have been for them, but they are always mentioning the same vendors over and over again. And they even on their Facebook page had showed vendors, like they would hold something up, for example, and they would hold, these are my book earrings, that's cute. They would hold something up and they'd say booth number whatever and the price. And so they went around to a lot of booths. And then there was a picture of my booth, nothing. They didn't hold anything up. They didn't say the booth number or what the cost was, nothing. So it was like, I felt in a lot of ways that people kept saying, oh, it looks so nice and it looks so nice. I felt like I was a free display, like it was just an exhibit. That's how I started feeling. And I thought, well, gosh, thank you, but I'm not here for entertainment purposes. I'm here to sell. And so when I saw all these things and I woke up Friday morning and I said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I didn't feel supported in the space. I didn't feel like the communication was there. And I was making money. I'm selling things, but I'm just not, it's barely getting paid. So I thought, if I had sold all these things on my own, I would have been getting more money. I mean, the money that it's worth, right? So I grabbed a suitcase. I went to the market, and rather than moving my items, I just packed up, and then I talked to my person there, and I said, I'm sorry, I am going to pack up and go. And there was a lot of backstory to it too, so I'm not sure that he was all surprised, and I'm not sure that the owner, when he spoke to her, that she was all that surprised either. But I just, I don't know. I just, when I got there, all my stuff was in a state of disarray. It was all in disarray. Somebody had thrown garbage on one level of my shelf. And it looked so beautiful when I had left it there. And the top tier, I'm going to insert a picture here. And if you could see the top tier, there's a, that little rack with the things hanging. Every single thing that was on there was off and just laying flat on that top shelf. So if you're walking by it, it looks like there's nothing there. It almost seems intentional. I'm sorry to say it, but one or two things, yes. Everything, and it was all just laying flat. And then you see on the second shelf where I had that basket, I had, there was a craft kit in there. I think there was like a couple different mystery kits, and I had them labeled. They're in a basket. Well, they had taken one of the bags that was underneath, and it was just thrown on top of that. And the pillow that I had resting on an easel, that was laying flat. Easel's gone. my business cards, along with the holder, aren't there. I mean, what is happening? So this is why I say, you know, when it's time to go, it's time to go. So it's not about me. I'm not bashing that market, and I'm not bashing any consignment market. What I'm simply saying, I think the core takeaway here is that if you're not in possession of your things and you have it in a market like this, you have to be in a place where you feel supported and you feel like your things are cared for and you feel like the customers are respectful of your items. So there was just a lot of different moving parts where I was just feeling, you know what, this just is not sitting well with my soul. It's time to go. Take charge of your things and say, I could do better. I could do something better, because I can't change the way they run the market. I can't change the customer behavior. I can't help that they are advertising for other people, showing the items with the booth number and the price, but yet just showing a picture of mine with no mention or nothing. I can't help that. But what I can help is how I safeguard my emotions, my efforts, my talents, and my products, and I can go forth and put them out in the world in a way that is meaningful to me. So the core takeaway is just be aware of how your things are being managed. If you are involved with any kind of market, it doesn't matter. You can read all the fine print you want. You can't affect other people's behaviors and how things transpire. And this has happened. I've heard this a lot with people doing in-person markets. You don't know, if you go to these venues, you really don't know how it's going to go down until you know. So, and then a lot of people say, well, I don't think I'm going to do that market again, or gosh, that was great. I can't wait to do that other market. So I may go back there at some point in the future if I could do things differently. I'm going to see, maybe ask, when, you know, if I'm paying for advertising, maybe ask, what does that entail? How do you advertise for people? Excuse me. I didn't ask those questions because I didn't know. So now I know.